Kentucky, home of the most famous horse race in the world, it also has a darker side. Kentucky has a sinister history involving the death penalty. What heinous crimes did these men commit to land there? Let's get into it. The death penalty is a contentious issue in the United States, with 27 states currently enforcing it. Kentucky is one of them. In Kentucky, if the death penalty is being sought, the jury must unanimously agree to it. Death sentences are automatically appealed to the Kentucky Supreme Court. Per statute, the sentence is to be carried out the 5th Friday after the Supreme Court has affirmed the penalty, but in most cases it is delayed due to further appeals. As with most states, the governor has sole power of clemency. Stick around as we take a look at the death penalty facts and infamous cases in Kentucky. Since 1976, 3 men have been executed in Kentucky. Prior to that, over 400 people had their life ended by the Commonwealth of Kentucky. When the death penalty was reinstated in Kentucky in 1976, the legislature passed a law mandating that all murder convictions result in a death sentence. The U.S. Supreme Court found the law to be unconstitutional and it was removed from the books. The current method of execution in Kentucky is lethal injection, but if the condemned was sentenced prior to March 31, 1998, they can opt for the electric chair. Kentucky was the first state to allow for judges to consider whether racial bias played any role in the sentencing decision in the Racial Justice Act. Kentucky holds the records for most executions in a single day. On July 13, 1928, Kentucky executed at least 7 men. Some sources say 8. That day was actually a Friday the 13th. The electric chair, or Old Sparky, was in continual use that day. I can only imagine the toll that has on the prison staff tasked with ending the lives of those men. On the banks of the Cumberland River lies the Kentucky State Penitentiary, the site of death row for men in Kentucky. I have previously profiled this prison. Click the link above to check that out. There is one female on death row in Kentucky, Virginia Caudill. She is housed at Kentucky Correctional Institute for Women in Shelby County. On August 14, 1936, Rainey Bethea was unfortunately the last public hanging in America, following a conviction for assaulting a 70-year-old woman, which he allegedly confessed to. The sheriff tasked with completing the execution was Florence Shoemaker Thompson, the first female to carry out the duty. She became sheriff of the county following the death of her husband. This was an event attended by many in the county. The executioner was too intoxicated and a deputy had to carry out the sentence. It was estimated that 20,000 people were in attendance. The media extensively covered the hanging, which was heavily criticized. 2 more were completed following Bethea's death, which was then outlawed in 1938. Following the death penalty being reinstated across the country in 1976, a Kentucky court sentenced Kevin Stanford, age 17, to death for a murder in January 1981. The U.S. Supreme Court upheld his sentence in Stanford v. Kentucky in 1989. This decision allowed 16 and 17-year-olds to be sentenced to death. Stanford had his sentence commuted to life in prison in 2003 by then Governor Paul Patton. The U.S. Supreme Court reversed their decision in Roper v. Simmons, outlawing the death penalty for juveniles in 2005. In 1999, 17-year-old Larry Osborne was sitting on death row for the murder of 2 people. During the trial, the judge allowed grand jury testimony from the lookout in the crime, who had died in a swimming accident prior to the trial. The Kentucky Supreme Court ruled that the testimony violated Osborne's Sixth Amendment rights. He was provided a new trial and acquitted, ending his time on death row. The 3 men who have been executed in Kentucky since 1976 are Harold McQueen, Edward Harper Jr., and Marco Chapman. Harold McQueen was convicted of robbery and murder in 1981. While high on drugs, he robbed a convenience store and killed the clerk. His home was searched and evidence of the crime was found. On July 1, 1999, the sentence was carried out on the electric chair. He was the first electrocution since 1962 and the last in the state. McQueen's last words were, "I'd like to apologize one more time to the O'Hearn family. I'd like to apologize to my family because they're victims as well. I'd like to thank everybody that sent me cards and letters and prayers. Everybody that sent me that, tell them to keep fighting the death penalty." The next 2 would be carried out by lethal injection. Edward Harper murdered his adoptive parents in February 1982. The motive behind the crime was an inheritance of about $85,000, which doesn't seem much for the crime he committed. At trial, he claimed that his father asked him to carry out the crime because his mother was mentally ill and he could no longer bear her seeing like this. He was found guilty and the sentence sentence was carried out on May 25, 1999. While on death row, he grew close to his son. Harper's last words were, "I love you and I'll be waiting for you on the other side. I'll be waiting for you, boy. That's all I have to say." The last death penalty carried out was on November 21, 2008. Marco Chapman took the lives of 2 small children in August 2002. He had been in a relationship with their mother and went to the home with the intention of robbing her. One child escaped and ran to the neighbors to call the police. He was arrested later that day. Chapman was found guilty and would waive all his appeals. He felt that his sentence was just for his crime. He would write a lengthy statement to the family. Chapman would give these as his last words. "Carolyn, I want you to know I am truly sorry. I don't know why it happened. This is the man. I am willing to give my life." Currently, Kentucky has no upcoming executions. In March 2022, a law was signed limiting the use of the death penalty even further. Now, defendants with severe mental health issues are exempt. We will see in the future if they continue to use it or if it fades away. One thing is certain, these men committed crimes unfathomable to many. Be sure to check out my state prison playlist by clicking here. As always, see you next time.